Well, an herb is any plant which can be commercialized for cosmetic, culinary, or medical uses. But that's not a botanical definition, is it? That's a economic definition. That's a business definition. Any plant which is commercializable for culinary, botanical, or medicinal uses. So that means that an herb is whatever a human being says it is. And that means that every culture has their own definition of herbs. So Europeans come to the New World and say, that's an herb and that's medicinal, has medicinal value. And Native Americans say, no, it doesn't. That's an herb. Or, you know, think of all the stuff that some other cultures think are tasty and you think, I wouldn't eat that. Well, that's the same for herbs for culinary uses. Some people think that tastes good and some people say that stinks, that tastes terrible. So herbs are a cultural phenomenon and they change with different cultures and they change when different cultures interact. So I'm going to show you some Western European American herbs, but other societies would say, that's not an herb, I don't know what to do with that, or that's not a cosmetic use, or that doesn't smell good. Now, when a lot of people look at herbs, they're going to tell you, let's crush them and smell them, which we're going to do with a couple, but when I tell you don't touch this one, I mean it. Because we're going to take a look at one that really is of proven medical value, and if you don't handle it correctly, it's poisonous. So don't touch it unless I tell you it's okay to touch them. Now, you can see we put them in pots in the sun because most of what Europeans coming to the New World think are herbs are Mediterranean. And so they don't mind the heat and the sun and not getting water all the time because they're used to Mediterranean climates. So let's start at the west end and we'll walk east. This is yarrow, and you grow yarrow just in a pot by itself because it's invasive. It'll grow all over the place if you put it with anything else. And yarrow, we have any medical or dental students? Okay, so among the things they don't teach you folks anymore is, if I said to you, what's the definition of an ointment versus a lotion versus a cream? Well, those all have specific definitions. And my father, should rest in peace, was a pharmacist, and I was raised on the definitions of all these things. What is a lotion versus a cream? So yarrow is an astringent. What's an astringent? What's it do? Makes your skin feel tight. It's a vasoconstrictor. It's a constrictor of soft tissue. Very popular astringent is witch hazel. What's witch hazel is a plant that likes to grow in Connecticut. That's why the witch hazel manufacturers are in Essex, Connecticut. Dickinson's witch hazel's been on the market for over 100 years. They mix it with alcohol. It's called tincture of witch hazel. People use it for removing makeup, for hemorrhoids, for itches, but it's an astringent. It makes the things contract, the skin contract, and yarrow is an astringent. So therefore it's a styptic. That's another antiquated term. What's a styptic? What's a styptic pencil?
Stop a nick when you shave.
Cut yourself shaving, you put a styptic. What's in a styptic pencil? It's clay, aluminum. It's basically dirt with some aluminum mixed in, but it's an astringent. Yarrow is a natural astringent. If you scrape yourself, skin your knee, If I just grabbed a bunch of these and slapped it on a bleeding of a skin, it'll stop. It's a vasoconstrictor and a soft tissue restrictor. So of the various herbs, a lot of herbal medicine is just bloody nonsense. It's lore. It's theater. But yarrow actually works. So you could make a poultice out of this and stop slow ooze venous bleeding. It wouldn't do any good for an arterial bleed, but you scrape your knee, scrape your elbow, cut yourself shaving. This will work as well as a styptic pencil. Now, in this pot, we've got two kinds of herbs. This is calendula, and calendula, people make tea out of it, or they think it's good for the skin. There's no real scientific basis to calendula. People all the time want to tell you, well, herbs have antimicrobial and antifungal characteristics. Well, you know what? So do humans. Okay, because anything that lives is constantly at war with the bacteria and fungi that want to colonize us. So to say that a plant has antibacterial and antifungal characteristics, of course it does. Otherwise it wouldn't be able to survive. Like, what's a popular chemotherapy drug now used in breast cancer, ovarian cancer? Taxol. Taxol comes from the bark of a Pacific yew tree. Now, why in evolution is a Pacific yew tree making taxanes for chemotherapy? Why would evolution do that? It's not because it's chemotherapy for cancer. It's because a yew tree has got to protect itself against a beaver. Beaver's going to come chew on the yew tree bark, carry it off to try to make a beaver dam. If a beaver eats 360 degrees around a tree, it's going to kill the tree. So what happens if the bark has got a cytotoxic chemotherapy in it? The beaver's going to puke his guts out and say, I'm not going to chew on that tree, I'll chew on that tree. So Taxol is an evolutionary protective anti-beaver agent. And so a lot of herbs, they're antimicrobial because a lot of things have to. The one that has a strong scientific basis is the one I'm not touching. This is the real deal. Anybody recognize what this is? These characteristic bell-shaped flowers? It's called foxglove. What's the genus of foxglove? How do you say it in Latin? Digitalis. This is the anti-cardiac arrhythmia, inotropic cardiac contractility drug Digitalis. This is it. In the 18th century, Erasmus Darwin, Charles Darwin's grandfather, and William Withering knew that English folk healers would give this to people with what they call dropsy. Dropsy is what we now would call congestive heart failure. And they got better. And people with atrial fibrillation, irregular heartbeats, got better. Because Digitalis is an inotrope. It increases the contractility of muscle, and it's an antiarrhythmic. And William Withering spent 10 years scientifically studying foxglove. Is it better if you harvest the leaves in the spring or in the fall? Which species is better? And he wrote his famous book, An Account of the Foxglove, and thus we get Digitalis. Nowadays, pharmaceutical companies will manufacture it, but originally Digitalis was a plant-derived one, and this is the reason why you don't grab a hold of this in my garden and smell it, because it's Digitalis. If you crushed this in your hand, you'd get a dose of Digitalis, and you'd feel it in your heart, and you don't want to. And if you chewed on it, it could potentially lethal. If you could produce yourself a cardiac disturbance. So that's Digitalis, and the name Digitalis is the genus of the plant. So this is the various things in the garden has the strongest scientific basis. Right? Now these are grown here because these are also invasive, and they'll take over any place they grow. So take a piece and crush it in your fingers and have a sniff. What is it? You smell it? What you're smelling are the oils from the plant. It's spearmint. And if you did the same thing with this, you get a slightly citrusy smell. This is lemon balm, also a variant of mint. And people make teas out of these, or they say it settles the stomach. But when these really take off, they'll come cascading out of this, and very popular herb. Tastes good. You know, people like mint. Okay, this should be easy to recognize. What is this? Both used for medicinal purposes and for a cosmetic or for perfume.
It looks like lavender.
It's lavender. Yeah, this is lavender. This is characteristic for lavender. And this, crush this and smell this.
That's rosemary, isn't it?
Smell it?
Oh.
It's rosemary.
Yep.
Okay, so this is an example of the botanical. Depending on how you grow rosemary, it'll turn into a woody shrub. So when people say the definition of herb, it does not have a woody stem, this is already an exception, because rosemary will grow and be woody. But I mean, you can probably smell it already. It's very, very fragrant. You just brush against it, and that's rosemary. You smell it? Yeah. These are. This is coneflower. People will use for also settle the stomach, or they'll say it's immune booster. This is a tricky one. See if you can figure out what this is. This you need a somewhat refined smell to see if you can figure this one out. American doctors and British doctors would often have a medicinal herb garden next to the office to compound this. And among the things that perplexed my father when I went to medical school is my father wanted to know when I was going to take pharmacognosy. What's the word pharmacognosy mean? You take pharmacology now. The word pharmacognosy means the derivation of drugs from plant and animal sources. Because in my father's era, you'd be compounding digitalis from the plant. Why didn't I have to take they don't teach pharmacognosy anymore. That and why I didn't have to take Latin mystified my father about he wasn't getting his tuition's money's worth out of Yale. Okay, I promised 15, 20 minutes and I've kept my word. Anyway, this is the beginning of our educational herb garden. Eventually, Jennifer's going to have signs here with QR codes, which will tell you some of the stuff I told you. And then we hope eventually to expand on this patio and this patio. And it'll be a way of learning about the heritage of healthcare and herbs. So thanks for joining me. Any